advocate for what's important. Show up to school board meetings and talk about, here's what's kind of trending in our district. This is what staff needs. Pay attention to like how many staff members have left for neighboring districts because they're doing X, Y, and Z. So we pay attention to all these little metrics that play an important role into making a school like the best school in the area.
Welcome to the Generation Youth Podcast. I'm your host, James McLamb. Hey, I'm with a good friend now, good new friend that Laura, one of our guests earlier this fall, maybe September, 1st of October, last September, introduced us, Laura being a life coach down in Texas. And here's the thing. Once Tom and I connected, we realized we had another mutual friend who has been both on the podcast and the summit from years ago, Greg Berg. And I was really excited because when I saw that you knew him, I was like, this is good people here because Greg is a good person. So welcome to the show, Tom. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. And Greg is an amazing person. Shout out to that guy. He's actually the first person that hired me to be a teacher. That was almost 15 years ago, and we still continue to keep in touch. So that's a funny connection. He's a great guy.
He is. And it was a great episode with him and his content. I actually integrated it into a study for a class that I was teaching at church where he was talking about culture and he was talking about how to build it in schools and teams. I did it how you do it with families because the same three principles apply. Well, before we dive into what you do and the passion that you have working with young people, our audience would love to listen to you and hear a little bit about you. And they really get sick and tired of James talking all the time. I'll tell you that. They get tired of me. So if you wouldn't mind, take a couple minutes and introduce yourself to the Generation Youth audience.
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Tom Horner. So what I do, a little bit of everything, and that's what I love about it. Right now, I'm the mental health and wellness coordinator for Pine Island Schools. Previously, I was a health and physical education teacher for Mr. Greg Berg, my coach, my life coach, my everything, man. He was great. So I taught health and phy ed for 8 years, and then I started building this brand new position in 2020. And here, I'm also one of the strengths coaches, and my days just look wildly different, which that's why I love it. One day you might see me teaching in an elementary classroom. The next day I'm in the weight room with athletes. The next day I'm teaching a yoga class. The next day I'm delivering smoothies to staff at 7:30 in the morning. And at the core of my job, it really is to support students, staff, and our whole community, whether that's through SEL lessons, that's social emotional learning, and teaching kids how to be good with character and sportsmanship, delivering wellness initiatives district-wide, mental health programming, leadership development, or simply being someone kids can talk to when life gets heavy. Those conversations behind the scenes when an athlete gets injured and they just need somebody to talk to. So I'm a support person in our school as well. I also host a podcast. It's called The Panther Pulse, where we bring in guests ranging from health and wellness experts to mental performance coaches to, believe it or not, we had a guy from the Secret Service as an agent.
Oh, wow.
So it was a pretty wild conversation, and just the connections that you make by doing this podcast is so cool. The goal is always the same: to connect, to learn, to help people grow. Some of the best conversations I feel like I've had have just been on the podcast, just preparing questions. And it's kind of made me realize, like, why don't we do this more in life in our normal, authentic questions, you know? Outside of school, I'm a husband. I'm a dad of 2 boys, 3 and 5. I run my speaking business, which is called Mind in Motion, LLC, where I speak to middle schools, high schools, and leadership groups about wellness, leadership, passion, purpose, and doing all the little things. Personally, when I'm not doing work and school things, I love cooking. I love connecting with people, pushing myself with endurance sports, but I really value quiet time, taking my dog for a walk with no phone, no music, no noise. That's honestly where some of my best thinking and ideas come. So every day looks different, but it all centers around kind of that one thing. The reason why I started in education is just I feel my best when I can help support others physically and mentally, emotionally, and as a leader.
You know, that position that you have now, the mental health wellness coordinator, that is something that you do not find at most schools. It's not even a active role. There may be unofficial people unofficial task assigned to certain staff members, but that's not a role. So I remember you saying, and reading the things that you sent me as well, that you helped create this. And if the audience was paying close attention, they heard a buzz year, a year that is kind of one of those defining years. And that is 2020. And everybody knows what happened in 2020 and how this would have happened. What were you seeing? What was the issues that you were seeing that made you say, hey, guys, we need to take a step back. We need to do more than just teach them about this stuff. We need to have some interventions, some proactive help with them. What was going on that you saw?
Yeah, James, that's an awesome question. And I was actually teaching with Greg still when this
Oh,
job
wow.
opportunity came up in a different district. So I was in Lake City. I just finished up my principal license. I didn't know if I wanted to be a principal yet, young kids at home. And I saw this position that popped up and it was super vague. It was in a district that was a little bit closer to my house. And I had so many questions. So I was just bombarding them with questions like, what does this role look like? What does it mean? How long is it going to last? And really, the only thing that I can answer is it depends on who we hire. It depends on who we hire. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for it. Well, the superintendent, our leader at the time here at the school, Tammy Champa, just an incredible leader. While other schools were spending a lot of their ESSER fund monies, like the COVID money that was funneling in from the government on, new technology systems, she really looked at it as an investment. And this was in high need is how do we support our students, our staff, and our community? So this just massive umbrella. And really, I look at what I started and created as just a bunch of different tier one interventions. And when I took the job, I still didn't know what I was going to do. And I just knew I had to do something. And I still look for the $1 million question that people ask is like, so Tom, what do you do? If you could give me one thing that makes a difference. And I'm like, it's not just one thing. It's a million little things that you do 24/7 all the time consistently that actually have a ripple effect in making your district a healthier place. And so all the little things that we do under that big umbrella supporting students, staff, and families is what truly makes a difference. And so now I'm 5 years in and I couldn't imagine some of the things 5 years ago of what is it kind of like turned out as.
So, how are you helping those students? Or let me back that up. What are the issues and problems that you're seeing the students having that this position and it puts you in a place to where you're able to help? What's going on with them that they see that's happening?
You see a little bit of everything. The mental health issues and umbrella is just massive. And a lot of the things that we see is just post COVID and during COVID, people were at their house and they had all this flexibility and their freedom and their screen time was up 140%. And then they expect to come back to school and we're supposed to talk in front of others in class. They're supposed to somehow, lower that screen time. They're supposed to feel confident showing up at a sporting event when there's nobody showing up a year ago. Like all these little things where personally, I just think like life turned a little bit in a way easy. And that sounds bad because the pandemic wasn't easy. But the truth of reality is that like hard things happen in life. That's having hard conversations. That's doing difficult things like speaking in front of your peers. And so we're seeing a lot of these issues with confidence, with how to actually take care of yourself when something goes wrong in life. One of the things I'm probably most proud of is we started something called a Hope Squad. That's a peer-to-peer suicide prevention program. And so we've done a lot of work around suicide prevention, which has been a huge issue with our youth, second leading cause of death in that age group, in that high school area. And so really we focus a lot of attention on training kids in our school how to react to somebody and notice the signs and symptoms of somebody struggling with the mental health. The same thing as like CPR. Okay. If you go to a gym and you have a bunch of parents who are certified in CPR and somebody has a medical emergency, I like the chances of that person surviving because you have people that are reacting that notice what's going on. And the same thing is really what we're trying to do in our school is to train these kids, bring awareness to help other kids because peers, the research shows like they go to peers more than teachers, more than counselors. And so we want to give them the keys to be able to react in ways that are positive.
You're so right on that statement that they will go to their peers first at that age. And that's a natural part of the process that we all go through of maturing and that we want to connect with those around us and grow more. It is a good thing, though, that even though they won't admit it, studies do show that they will listen to the adults in their life and going forward. So you got the Hope Squad. What are some of the other things that you're doing here and some of the other things? Because here's what I'm hoping is happening right now. I'm hoping that there's someone listening or watching this that is a teacher, or maybe they're a parent that's involved with a school and they're having some concerns about what's happening in their school, that maybe the school is so overwhelmed with the mandates of testing, with the processes that come down from government above, from the central office, that sometimes it's sliding through. It's not because of apathy of the faculty, it's not because of apathy of school, it is because they don't have the bandwidth sometimes in their day to do what they really want to do. So,
Mhm.
what other types of things, intervention are you doing so that it could give these people some insight into what some opportunities may be?
Yeah. And James, what I was kind of hearing too was we could continue to hire more counselors, more social
Yeah.
workers, and just to be honest, like more therapists. We'll never have enough. These people are just busy 24/7 trying to support kids. But oftentimes we see a high majority of them are being left behind in some of these things that we can do to help support and prevent some of these things. And that's kind of where my job comes in, is where I try to be on the proactive side to help with these. So, some of the other things that you might see throughout the year, I'm really proud to say that we have a TZD group, which is called Towards Zero Death. So, every single month, we focus on a new theme and topic. That can be during prom season. We bring in a speaker every single month as well. During prom season, it could be an impact speaker, tobacco and THC. Each year I speak and we host a wellness fair. We have 25, 30 local organizations come in, anything from ETS performance for sports to some mental health services locally. And kids kind of walk around just like a business fair, get to know these people. And so that's always an amazing event that happens in the winter. I run a freaky 5K and Kids Fun Run. It's a race that I started 5 years ago, and it's kind of exploded into this fun Halloween run. I teach yoga classes for our staff members and also weekly for our peak performance classes in PE. Now, this is one of the things that surprised me is yoga. You think like, wow, you do yoga? I'm amazed by how many kids, when they come in and they hear that I'm teaching a dance class or a yoga class, they get the, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this. And then when they leave, how good they feel mentally and physically when they leave after teaching learning how to do some different line dances, communicating with others and socializing, moving your bodies and doing yoga. It's just incredible. And some of the feedback that we get about like the yoga and how they think about all that stuff is just incredible as well. So really my role is just this unconventional role that I get to make up, which is the coolest thing ever. I was hungry to try to copy somebody from a different state, from a different school, and be like, you're a mental health and wellness coordinator. But the truth is, I built it up as my own because I feel like I have a unique skill set. I'm not great in some other different things that some people are doing really well. So I'm trying to take a lot of my strengths and really leverage it to make sure that everything I do in this district is for the kids, it's for the staff, it's for the community. And it has this ripple effect, again, of those a bunch of little things throughout the year and not just one big splash.
I know you said the school was actually looking for this kind of role, but now I'm hearing somebody yelling at the radio or yelling at YouTube going, how do I get this here? How do we get this started here? How can we do this? And I know there's a teacher that's probably yelling at it going, I'd love to be able to make my own role and be able to help them like this. So let's start there. If you could give a school system, a teacher, a parent, or something, here's step one to trying to get this started. Now, I know what I just asked is like a phenomenal ask
Mm-hmm.
because we know how the politics of school systems go and stuff. But how do we get it started? How do we open the eyes to other districts, other schools across the nation that this type of help is needed and the benefits far outweigh any kind of investment that they have to make on the front end?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. But I really think of the amount of things a school spends money on in reactive things, including catalyst training or student management, the amount of professional development about how to support kids. And what I'm thinking is the small percentage of kids, in this tier 2 and tier 3 and the amount of money that we're spending, we truly don't know what teaching kids and educating them about wellness, sleep, leadership, confidence. We don't really know because it's really hard to collect data on like how important this stuff is. But I think our common sense brain tells us like this is essential. Any person knows that to have a successful life, like you don't have anything unless you have your own well-being. And the earlier that you can learn about the importance of sleep, of hydration, of nutrition, of learning how to communicate with others, how to be a good sport, all these little things, that translates into academics. It translates into organization. It translates into all these different things that help develop real life skills that we
Yeah.
need as we start to grow up. And so I don't have a good answer. I know that there's a lot of teachers and coaches that are listening that, they get paid as a teacher and they work a lot more than 40 hours a week because they're the ones that are hosting that step challenge for the staff. They're the ones that are going out of their way to teach a yoga class after school. They're the ones that are always getting asked to do these extra things because we live in this world where people who go out of their way and are really talented in education often get rewarded with more things, right? And so that's kind of the tricky thing. I would say advocate for what's important. Show up to school board meetings and talk about here's what's kind of trending in our district. This is what staff needs. Pay attention to like how many staff members have left for neighboring districts because they're doing X, Y, and Z. So we pay attention to all these little metrics that play an important role into making a school like the best school in the area. And I'm proud to say like Pine Island schools, enrollment has been increasing dramatically. And all these little things that we're doing, I think, make a huge difference.
I love the fact that you can see some tangible results, that parents are moving kids to there because they want their kids to be the most healthy, and that teachers are moving into the district to participate because they want to be a part of something great. I taught many years ago, over 25 years ago, for a decade. And I felt like, and my daughter is in her fourth year teaching actively right now. Both of us taught high school, or she's teaching high school, I taught high school. And when I hear her talk about her experiences, we taught the exact same subjects to very close demographics, schools, different schools, but very close to same type of student. I just like, you don't have the time during the day to really be that life type of coach to pour into them that I did. I seem to have the bandwidth to do a little bit more in my day. And so if we're going to demand all these things, we're going to have to make space for people like yourself to be able to come alongside them to do that. So the only person I've ever known is, as we interviewed someone a few years ago from Long Island, Leah Jensen. She was also on our summit. She's doing something fairly similar, but it's strictly towards athletes out on Long Island. In a middle school setting that's doing stuff. So it's definitely something that's got to be needed going
And
forward.
James, I would say I wouldn't feel confident talking about this a year or two into doing this, but the amount of feedback and the data that I've collected from our staff members and how they feel welcome and supported and the amount of different things. And this is not me. This is from the leadership on out. We have the most incredible principals who give our teachers the autonomy to be who they are, teach how their personalities kind of interact best with kids. It's this whole thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just the things that I'm doing. I'm just an added benefit to be able to help support our students and staff. But now 5 years in, it's just kind of fun to see how that's blossomed into actual tangible results.
Yeah, I love that. One of the other things that I enjoyed reading about you was the message, the theme that you had that you shared with me about you want to help youth, help with doing hard things, learning hard things, and by process of doing that, finding a golden opportunity. I love the way that is verbalized. I love the way that is worded. Can you unpack that for me? What that means and how that message is a part of who you are and what you want to share? Because that kind of stuff excites me. I put a bunch of stars beside of it when I wrote it down. I was like, oh, this is really cool. That kind of stuff I kind of geek out on, but I love to hear the thought process and really the heart behind it as well.
Yeah, and I have to give the credit to Teddy Mitro-Silas. He's somebody I read his newsletter. It's called The Process. I had him as a host, as a guest, sorry, on my podcast as well. And I kind of took this concept and started exploding different ideas and examples in real life. And so, can I kind of paint a picture and just kind of share a story? You'll learn a little bit more about
Oh,
me
I
and my
love it.
life. Okay.
Man,
So,
you don't even have to ask. That kind of stuff I geek out on. So just go with
okay.
it.
So, like, school never came easy for me. I was a middle child. I remember sitting in a classroom on a Saturday in high school, taking the good old ACT, right? Like, sweating through my shirt as I reread every single question. waiting for the bell because they had this little like bell when the time was up. So the bell would hit as like a 5 minute warning. And then that's when it'd start. I would just start filling out C, 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 C because I didn't trust myself to know the answers. I didn't know the answers.
I
I
love
got an
that.
18 on my ACT. And then my parents paid for tutoring. And then I got an 18 again. What a waste of money. I had always wanted to go to college, but like I was just filled with so much self doubt, and it didn't help. My high school counselor, I'd met with her. She'd tell me like, "Hey, you're gonna want to take the ACT again. You're probably not gonna have much success getting in anywhere with that score." So like that's not fun to hear. And she was right. I didn't get into the first three schools I applied for, but I did get into Winona State. I was super excited, still full of self doubt and unsure of what I even wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher or go into health and PE. I literally put my major as like communication studies, and then it changed quick. And I knew ultimately my ultimate weakness was math, and that was waiting for me. I started with a no credit math class because that's what I tested into. And almost 80% of my freshman time was spent just like literally trying to pass this course I was paying for that didn't give you any credit. It was awful. Our professor even suggested I retake it about halfway through because my progress like wasn't looking good. But then I ran into another student who told me I could actually bypass this class, go straight into a stats course that I actually needed. So I was nervous, but I registered for that class and I got my first A in college. I showed up before, after, all the time. My professor knew me exactly when I was going to show up, but like I put in the work, and that success, like that small success unlocked something I never thought I had. And that was the confidence that I could actually work through something that I always convinced myself that I was not good at. I still convince myself like I'm not good at math. But from that moment on, I started to see these challenges not as like roadblocks, like I'll never be able to do this, but as these opportunities to grow. So growing up when I was younger, this is fun. I had always loved watching my mom run marathons as a kid. Like we'd wake up, grab donuts or Cindy Minis from Burger King, and cheer her on while she ran the Twin Cities Marathon. And I'd always thought growing up someday, like, oh gosh, I would love to run, but it always felt like too much work. But after that positive academic moment in college, I finally signed up for my first marathon and I finished it with my mom, my brother, and my sister, those same people
Wow.
with donuts.
All right, I'm gonna pause right there
Yeah.
and just to share this real quick.
Hmm.
There is a race here in Raleigh, North Carolina, called the Krispy Kreme Challenge,
Oh,
where you run 3 miles. You have to eat a dozen donuts and then run back 3 miles. And so when you said that, the first thing I thought of was the Krispy Kreme Challenge.
yeah, that sounds amazing. Something I'd be good at, man. I can say I'm not good at math, but I can eat a Krispy Kreme and I can run. So we got to talk after the show about how do you have any hookups? I'll come to Raleigh and I will run that. I like my chances too. I'm not super fast, but man, all right.
Well, nobody's super fast on the run back.
No, no,
There's
no, no.
plenty of them that are walking on the run back, and some of them have to stop frequently. For
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they have their fair share of porter potties along the way too. So, but when you're endurance training, so like training for a marathon it's brutal. There's moments you feel like you're not enough, you get injured, and you were not fast enough, and you're not doing enough, like constantly. And it's those same feelings that I had as like I'm trying to get through this stupid math class, but persevering through it, like finishing a race and feeling that sense of accomplishment, it started to shape me mentally in a way that nothing else really had. And so over time, I continued to challenge myself. Marathons, triathlons, longer distances, and little by little, I started to see I was actually growing in all the areas of my life. So eventually my mom, my brother, and my sister-in-law, we signed up for Ironman Wisconsin in 2017.
Oh
That's
wow,
a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then a full marathon after
yeah,
that. And you got to finish in under 17 hours. So it's like the finish line photo is great, but the real lessons came in these little moments, like a flat tire when when it was starting to get dark on mile 80, and that mental battle to get on my bike for a 5 hour loop when your butt hurts, and just figuring out how to fuel, how to sleep, and the preparation that actually mattered. Those are the golden opportunities. Those are like these little moments that teach you resilience and discipline that nothing else really can.
What happens though with that young person who could certainly benefit for this? We all would, but they run from those hard things, or they don't, dove into them. My oldest is a hard thing doer. She finds the hard thing and she goes for it. Matter of fact,
Mhm.
we even talked about the fact with her recently. She's 25 now. Her and her husband were over at the house. They come over quite frequently, and we were talking about what she wanted to do physically going forward, and how she wanted to get in shape, and how classes that she was taking to for weightlifting and stuff just wasn't resonating with her because she didn't have friends there. And so I challenged her to find something to sign up for. Sign up
Mhm.
for another Spartan race. Do the 13-mile Spartan race again, or try to do the trifecta in that. Do something like that because it motivates her then, because she has that end goal. Where just working out, there's a great goal there, but it's just not this thing. Where my son, on the other thing, who is the best athlete in the house, will run from the hard things.
Mm.
He won't. They did a Spartan together, and where my daughter was like, "I'm going track 3 miles. I will see how fast I do." He's like running, just having fun, And I don't know that it was the benefit for him and stuff. So how do we encourage these young people to try these hard things
Mm.
when they seem to want to run from them? And in some ways, I think we've enabled them to do so as well.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, James. Have you ever had anything unexpected hard happen in your life?
Yeah, all the time.
I think it's important to know, like, you don't have to be an athlete to experience this. Like, every single kid at some point feels that rush, the pounding heart, the shaky hands, and the voice in your head that gets super loud. We especially saw this. We talked about it a little bit post COVID, but when a teacher asks you to give a presentation, you'd rather disappear. It happens when you have to walk into your lunchroom and you don't know who to sit with on the first day. Happens when you have to talk to a coach or apologize to a friend because you realize you said something that was out of line. All these little things. And sometimes it's like teachers and parents, we try to protect these kids. Like, we're quick to dismiss these moments as like, oh, I just want to make sure that they're safe, they're happy. Or we just say, just do it. Don't be nervous. Not a big deal. But to a kid, those moments are a really big deal. And it's important. Like, they're golden opportunities where resilience is formed, because everybody in life at some point, you're going to realize that, like, you're going to have times in your life that are really hard. Most people that are listening have, and they're not going away. And all of it's just training. When your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, knowing what's happening in your body and how to respond is going to be the difference maker with how you respond to the next second, the next minute, and then even how you get stronger from those moments beyond that.
I love that concept. There's so many things going on in my mind right now that are spinning, things that the audience would get so bored listening to me talk about, mainly because this week, the conversations that I have had with people, you're just like plopping in, and like it's all synergy this week. And I'm like, there's something going on because I'm having all the same conversations. What's happening here? From every aspect, from when you said hard conversations, when had somebody talked about that this week. Suicide prevention in youth. We just added somebody to the summit that you're a part of coming up. That's
Mhm.
going to be a speaker on that's happening there. These endurance type races and what it teaches you. You just have no idea. All these conversations, so that things are going on here. Tom, I hope that the audience has caught two things here, two kind of visions, two parts for our conversations. One, the latter part that we just talked about, helping young people understand the resilience that they need to develop, the doing these hard things to train them for, but also to help adults, those who are involved in schools or athletic teams, any kind of organizations, the importance of finding those roles where they can help with mental health. I really, really value what you're doing there, and I so appreciate what's going on. How can our audience, if they wanted to learn more about that and learn more about what you provide as far as your speaking, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, I can provide, if you want to throw in the show notes, the link to my site, but you can you can find me on Instagram on says up to Mr. Horner. You can email me, you can check out my website, but yeah, I'd love to come to a different school and speak about all these things that really matter. You can come check out some of the podcast episodes that we have had by just searching the Panther Pulse and finding an episode that resonates with you. And at the end of the day, like, we're all learning about our bodies, even as adults. And we have situations that come up, and the quicker we can realize like how to react in a productive way and what's actually going on inside your body from a nervous system standpoint, I mean, that's half the battle right there.
Tom, thank you for your time today. And audience, if you're interested in those, we certainly want you to go to the show notes. They will be there in the show notes. So you could click on the live links to be able to find him on his social media channels and the website. And if you stuck with us this long, 35 minutes, you obviously like what you were hearing. And so since you're here and you're still listening to us, we would like for you to ask you to do three things. Number one, please reach out to us. Tell Tom, tell me about what you have got as value of this. It doesn't have to be just in the comments on these sites, but you can reach us directly. We'd love to hear from you. Second, we'd love for you to like this so that other people can read it. And lastly, and I think this is the most important, someone you know here needs to hear this message. Somebody in a school system needs to know that these opportunities are out there, that there are schools that are on the forefront of doing what Tom is doing. Share this message, share this episode with them so that they can connect, so that they can catch a vision. Tom, thank you again for being here. And I am so looking forward to working with you on the upcoming summit that we'll have this winter of 2026. But thank you for being our guest today.
Yeah, James, thanks for having me.
And thank you, audience, for sticking with you. And we'll be back again real soon with another episode of the Generation Youth Podcast.